This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
Before we start, we do have patrons to do. You actually sent me the screenshot, so I know we're ready to do
it. you reminded me yesterday instead of right beforehand, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Professional.
Decent. We actually thanked our patrons pretty recently, and then I saw we got a little bit of a pop in patrons, so I said let's go ahead and thank them again.
Yay, more patrons. We love it.
More patrons. We love it, you guys. Thank you for continuing to support us. You know, I was thinking to myself, like, we have the live listeners and we have, you know, a couple people send us emails. I see a couple of people at cons, but like, it's such a small percentage of the people who are listening. And I know that. And the people who are giving us donations on Patreon. So when something like this happens where it's like, oh yeah, we get a couple of people in a row, it really reminds me that there's like a silent majority of you out there listening.
Yeah, totally.
And or people who have contributed in the past, you know, or people who have talked to me in the past, and it's like, because in my head, when I'm talking, I'm picturing a room of like 15 people, like I'm in front of a classroom, right? Like, but there's like 2,000 people out there downloading this podcast.
Something like that. It's more than I could keep track of.
Something like that,
that's for sure.
And it varies quite a bit around that number, depending on, you know, who's binging and who's keeping up and stuff like that.
So to the ranks of people that we have thanked over the years and support us, we now add Morgan Hecht Woodrow. Very cool name. Thank you.
Gaius.
That's a fun name. Malin Larson. That seems like an Aes Sedai name. I'm pretty sure there's a Malin Aes Sedai.
Gabriel Maestas. Maestas? I'm sure that is incorrect, but let's go with Maestas.
We made an attempt.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And last, but certainly not least, is a name that is definitely not their full legal name. Zocco? But there's some zeros in there.
Yeah, it's zeros instead of O's, but Zocco.
Yeah, which is cool. It's fun to say. Zocco. So thank you for that.
A nice 8-bit mage going on as your screen.
Yeah. So thank you to these 5 new patrons, and of course to all of our patrons past and present.
You keep us going.
Yeah.
So today we're here to discuss one of the shortest chapters of this book, I think. Chapter 12, An Empty Ink Bottle.
It's real damn short.
That's real damn short.
And then the chapter after that is a little longer, but really exactly one thing happens.
Yeah, and it's also a relatively short chapter, right? Like it's maybe half the length of some of the other chapters that we've looked at. So like these two chapters together are about 4/3 the length of a normal chapter, it feels like.
Yeah, and just really not a lot happens in them. It's a very brief slice of an afternoon. Basically, it's not even a whole day. These 2 chapters together are one slice.
And in time, we are jumping way ahead again, right? Because this is after... What's crazy is the events of these books are after the end of the book. Because the end of the book is Perrin sees Matt on the mountaintop, and this is days afterwards.
Rand,
sorry.
It'd be really funny if Perrin and Matt saw each other up there. But yeah, it's absolutely bonkers that Rand is coming back from the mountain here early in the book, and the book's climax is Perrin seeing him pre-this. Yeah.
Very
confusing.
And something I think the first time I read through didn't really click with me. I was literally like, oh, because until I didn't realize how early, I thought Perrin's stuff was happening at the same time Rand's stuff was happening. It's not until you're in the dream and you get that sync up on the mountaintop that you're like, wait, what? He's that far back in timeline? I did not realize.
Exactly. Yeah. You thought maybe it was a little desynced or what, but no. Oh no, we are like so far back.
Well, especially the jumping back and forth between the 2 timelines. It's not like you get all of Perrin's timeline and then Rand's, right? There's no catch up.
Very inconsistent.
And I can see why they did that. They were like, oh, if you got all of Perrin's story right at the beginning of this, which is a slow burn, to say the least, this would be a really tough book to get through. So I can see how editing they went, let's sprinkle in some Rand stuff, even though it is asynchronous.
Could have just had less of the Perrin stuff.
But then how else would you get to 57 chapters in this book? One of the most chapters out of any book.
That's why they're so short.
And it is one of the reasons why we've been really pushing the 2 chapters per episode, because there are as many as double the chapters Because, like, I think some of Jordan's books even had like 35, 37 chapters, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's do 5. 5 per episode. New.
Spadoinkle is such an enabler.
He's like, go faster, guys. Listen, we've got about a year and a half left of content, and we're gonna end this sucker, the series, right about 10 years. And we're not in a big rush to beat that, and I think we're gonna try and time it that way. So, all right. Speaking of which, let's get into it.
Okay. Chapter 12, An Empty Ink Bottle, and our symbol is Cadswain's hair ornaments. Min sat on a window ledge in the Stone of Tyr, enjoying the warmth. The afternoon breeze was refreshing, laden though it was with humidity and the sense of the city below. The tyrants had been calling the weather chilly, which made Min smile. How would these folk respond to a good Andorran winter, with snow piled up at the sides of buildings and icicles hanging from the eaves? All that could be said of the weather lately was that it was less sweltering than usual. The warmth that Min was enjoying, however, had nothing to do with the heat in the air. Sunlight shone upon the city. In the stone's courtyards, defenders in their striped sleeves and breeches kept stopping and looking up toward the open sky. The clouds still lurked on the horizon, but they were broken around the city in an unnatural ring, perfectly circular. The warmth that Min felt was not caused by the sunlight. "How can you just sit there?" Nynaeve demanded. Min turned her head. The window was wide open, and the walls of the stone were thick. Min sat on the windowsill with her knees bent, her bare toes touching the wall on the other side. Her boots and stockings lay on the floor beside a stack of books. Nynaeve paced the room. The Stone of Tyr had withstood sieges and storms, wars and desolation, but Min wondered if it had ever survived anything quite like Nynaeve Almira in a peak. The dark-haired Aes Sedai had spent the last 3 days stalking through the corridors like a crackling thunderhead, intimidating defenders, terrifying servants. I love that little description of Nynaeve. Like, her fury at being frustrated might be enough to shake the stone down. It's a good outside view of Nynaeve.
And just how terrifying she is, right? Like, she is a force of nature for everybody around her. Like, she's always like, "Oh, woe is me. Do I know what I'm doing?" And it's like, yeah, you know what you're doing. Like, everybody else is doing what you say, except maybe Cadswain.
And Cadswain is taking her seriously, which is Cadswain's equivalent of obeying.
Right. What other person have we seen her take seriously? Sorelia. Yeah,
literally. Nynaeve is elevated to Sorelia status in Cadswain's eyes. Almost. Just a small step below.
Right.
Sorelia is still better.
That's true. That she did view her almost as more than an equal.
Right. Whereas Nynaeve is simply worthy of paying attention to.
Yes. And I do like this chapter because it gives us a chance to react to Rand's zenness, right? Like, I do like that there's a payoff. This is something we didn't get with the cleansing. Despite everybody seeing the cleansing, nobody went, "Oh, this is better," right? Like, we haven't really gotten that catharsis. Maybe just a little bit in some of these books, but really, like, this is an opportunity for Rand to come up and be like, "Oh, like, look at me, I am glowing with the halo of goodness, and I can now..."
Descending down off the mountain with the billowing clouds, and alien lights behind him.
You know, we get to enjoy the character's success. We get to see, like, no matter what happens in the last battle, he has won. And there's a quote in here where he says something like, the time has passed in which he could avoid the conflict, right? Because now I have essentially ascended to something more. Like, he's not going to drive me crazy. He's not going to have me kill myself.
It's one of the quotes that was chosen by Dr. Pants for the art. "The shadow made its play for me and lost." Yeah, something else. Like, it's a good. You're right. I hadn't thought about the fact that this is the payoff we should have gotten after the cleansing.
Yeah.
I was just annoyed that the chapter had so little to it. But you're right. What it does have to it is the kind of resolution that we've been looking for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dr. Pants, that is the good summary quote.
Yeah, not every chapter has a really good quote. This chapter, very much. Yeah. It's like, well, obviously.
Right.
Obviously.
Jesus Rand is what we're calling him, right? He's returned. He's been gone for 3 days and he's resurrected as a new man, right? He went up to the mountaintop and came down with the, 10 commandments. Like, there really is this whole...
I mean, that was Moses, but,
but I'm saying, like, he is all of those things, right?
Yes, he is a messianic figure.
And like, the Bible in, because it's a
legends fade to
myth. Myth becomes the Bible. Sure. The Bible becomes this thing, right? He is all of those legends in the same way that he's also Zeus, in the same way that Perrin is also kind of Zeus. But
none of them are running around nearly as much as Zeus. I do not think they have the prolific inability to keep it in their pants that is a defining characteristic of Zeus.
Oh, you should have waited for the Outriggers. Those would have just been straight porn.
I'll accept that headcanon.
Just Rand bouncing from woman to woman to woman, having multiple, the 3 wives having multiple children.
I'm just saying that is Zeus's entire personality.
Yeah, exactly.
He cannot keep it in his pants.
I mean, but think about how many children Rand's going to have, right? Like, Avienda's going to have kids. Elaine's going to have kids. He's going to have 6 kids just right off the bat, and he's still got a whole nother body to abuse.
It's true. That's true. That is true.
Yeah, anyway.
But yeah, the point is he's being very messianic and he's getting a lot of page time to do that in. And it is satisfying. Like, the Renaissance painters and composers knew what they were doing when they put together these big, elaborate images of how this vibe should be. Like, it's not satisfying. Like, it's satisfying for a reason. It was designed to be very gratifying. And Sanderson is like, let me just revel in it. And it's good. It's good.
It's gold. And I mean, you need a Mormon to tell these kind of stories. He knows. I mean, he's got very familiar with the that feeling, right? And he knows how to evoke it in a way that
he's coming from a craft, a workshop where this sort of thing is crafted at an industrial scale. He's gonna be good at it.
I love the little vignette of Nynaeve discovering iced tea.
Min being horrified at the concept of iced tea, which, like, I'm personally not a huge fan of iced tea, but I'm not a fan of tea broadly. Like, I really only like chai, and that's just, I don't know. If I'm going to put ice in my beverages, it's going to be coffee, but I want coffee more. As
I sit here and drink a cup of tea, it's hot, but yeah, I love my tea. I love tea.
I'm mid on tea. How do you feel about iced tea?
It's wonderful in the South.
Sure.
Because you are sweating so much and you want something, and it's a good way pre-soda to get, especially if you had sweet tea, right? Like, you're sweating out salt and sugar, and so you can get some of that back in this tea. And I like the caffeine that comes with tea. Coffee's caffeine can be a little harsh. It can leave you a little jittery. It can leave you a little, go. I feel like the caffeine that comes with tea gets processed a little more gently, and it's a little more of just a gentle stimulant. It doesn't, like, just for example, I don't usually immediately have to use the restroom after I drink tea, unlike coffee, right? So it gives you some of that stimulant without quite that much stimulant.
Sure. Yeah, I would agree. It doesn't kick as hard, and that's why I prefer coffee.
Right. So there are reasons that you might prefer the stimulants a little bit more stimulanty.
Yeah.
The ADHD maybe a little bit.
Stimulants work very well for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, some people, there's times when I find that I don't need that kind of kick.
Okay. Yeah. So, I guess that's super valid because I really like iced coffee in the summer when heat is a problem. Like, it totally makes sense to have your stimulant beverage you can just kind of clutch and move through your life with being cold because it's hot out. So yeah, I guess it really just comes down to a preference on if you like tea or not. Okay, so Nynaeve is freaking out that Rand is going to be leveling cities in the days he's unsupervised, whereas Min knows that for the last 3 days he's just been vibing, right? She's not worried. She's not anxious. She's like, he'll come when he's ready to come. It's fine. I'm not taking you to him, but I guess if you're going to literally explode, I'll promise to take you to him in a few days, but it's not going to be relevant because he's vibing and he's going to come back after 3 days because he's Jesus.
Right, because Min felt the whole transformation. She felt him go through the angst. She felt him overcome. She felt the light. And now this is the warmth that she's basking in, right? It's not the sun. She keeps saying it's not the sun, but it feels like the sun. And that's just the warmth that is the veins of gold coming off of Rand through the bond. right? And so she's totally chill because she knows that Rand is totally chill.
Yeah.
She sensed that change. Whereas Nynaeve saw
She's
Darth
blissed
Rand.
out.
Yeah.
Right? She is like floating on cloud nine, just blissed out. Meanwhile, Nynaeve is like, the last time I saw Rand, he was Darth Rand, and I still haven't gotten military support for my husband. So like, how can you be so calm? And it's like, what? I didn't hear you through all the clouds, man.
It's like, you really got to try this drug.
And Nynaeve's like, I have actual shit to do right now.
And so as they're talking, Serene comes in and basically says, Alana has gone. She's vanished right from her chambers. No sign of a gateway.
Here's the Aes Sedai that justifies you being confused about Serene.
Yes.
It's literally Serene. It's not spelled Serene, but it's pronounced Serene. So when you were like Serene, here she is, Serene. Why would you have been, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense.
Right, yeah, because the it's pronounced like the word that means calm.
When you saw the actual word on the page, of course your mind went to the Aes Sedai because it sounds the same.
Mm-hmm. And I listen to the audiobooks more than I read the books these days, right?
Mm-hmm. So exactly. So there's the Aes Sedai that justifies that little mistake. But yeah, she shows up to say, plot twist, Alana's gone missing, which is, important-ish, I guess.
So how do you think she got out? Because I don't think they answer that in this chapter, right? They sort of there's no sign of a gateway unless she invented flying. They do say unless she invented flying, right? Which makes me think it has something to do with flying. But I have no theories.
It's like Varen was able to hand her like an invisibility potion in that note or something.
Right, yeah. So we didn't really talk about that, but she's a note that they find has the red wax seal.
There's no actual evidence of the note itself. And it's like the information somehow allowed Alana to get out more easily, but that doesn't actually make any sense with what we know about the magic of the world. So my thought is that she maybe just knew how to do like an invisibility weave, just like a bending light, sneak out kind of thing. Or Vera knew of a secret passageway in the wall that allowed her to like sneak out. Something to do with flying just because that's the red herring fuel on the page. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we ever get an answer. I don't think that this would be her getting kidnapped, though. I think she left under her own power, whatever the mechanism was. I don't think that she gets abducted and taken into custody for the last battle cave scene until later. But I don't know. Maybe she wasn't. Maybe she didn't leave. Maybe she was taken.
I think she was taken. I think that this is another one of Varen's letters arriving a little too late, in the same way that Camelin got invaded. I think that the letter was a warning to Alana to get out. They're coming for you. You are tied to the dragon. And she was taken by someone who didn't channel the one power, but channeled the true power. I think you got it Forsaken. I think Ishamael came in and kidnapped her, and that's why she ends up in the cave. And that's why they sense her in the Borderlands. She's a little bit north of the Borderlands.
That makes so much sense.
Because you have a hard time determining distance. You know direction really accurately, but you have a hard time with distance. So if they sense, oh, she's in the direction of the Borderlands, well, what if she's just a little bit further in Shale Ghul?
This is her actually getting captured. So you think Varen didn't facilitate the capture? You think Varen was attempting to subvert the capture and it just didn't work out?
And that's why they took the letter, because the letter would have warned whoever found, says basically, you're going to get taken, run. It's a theory, right? Like, I don't have a lot of direct evidence for it other than this statement that A, she's in the Borderlands, B, we know she does eventually get kidnapped, and this is the last time we see her before she shows up in the cave, right? We'd have no idea what happens between then and now, so one could assume that, like, she gets kidnapped now.
Also, I feel like unless they learned to fly is often a line used when it's actually a kidnapping. I feel like this is
perhaps, yeah,
a thing that, like, often when a person is missing not because they had their own ability to get out, it's like that's usually the detective throwing their hands up like, well, I guess they must have learned to fly then, and it's like, no, they were taken. I had never thought that this was the point at which she got kidnapped, but that does tie up all of the loose ends the most neatly with the most conservation of plot, so I'm inclined to believe it. I mean, we don't need evidence. It's just like Occam's razor. Like, well, that fits with no loose ends.
The only loose ends is her stuff is still there, or isn't there. She packed her stuff up and took it, right? So then that to me then indicates that she went willingly.
Or that she was about to get away, and it was literally like a 5 minutes sooner, and she would have gotten out. But like, because she just didn't take Varen's letter, she didn't like get around to opening it soon enough, like it could have just been a photo finish kind of thing where she actually was ready to go, and so the alibi was even easier for the kidnappers than it would have had to be. Or the kidnappers know that it will be easier for them to get away with it if they take all of her stuff. Maybe, possibly. But I like the idea of a photo finish where if Alana had just taken the letter a little bit more seriously and gotten out 10 minutes sooner, then she would have been fine. I prefer that as a heart-pounding headcanon.
And I wish we had some more evidence, right? I have nothing else to go on in terms of what happens between now and the last battle when she shows up in the cave, ready to be killed.
Send us your headcanons.
And like, also, where's her warder?
Yeah. What did happen to iPhone?
Which one? Yeah, let's do a quick. This is where the show has confused the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Because she's got such a bigger role in the show than she did in the books. This is the TV show wiki. Damn you.
God damn it. What happened to referencing the books?
That changed their names. Yeah, I got nothing.
So he just kind of ceases to exist at some point? Like, what? We can't just lose a whole warder.
Let's see. Ivan and Owen. All right, so... Yeah, he's last mentioned in Winter's Heart. He accompanies Alana as they travel from Kyrian to Farmadding. Although it is not mentioned directly, we can assume that Ivan travels back to Kyrian with Alana and then to Tyr, where they stay at the Stone in Knife of Dreams. But he's like hasn't been mentioned since Winter's Heart.
That is some bullshit. Justice for the fucking warders. God. Ugh. So I'm gonna assume that he was hovering around Alana so protectively that he got killed and whisked off and dropped in a pit when she got kidnapped here.
Bale-fired.
Something. He's disposed of at the point she gets kidnapped. I'm going to assume he's with her until the point she gets kidnapped, at which point he gets disposed of.
But then, like, why isn't Rand feeling any of this if her warder's dead, if she's being kidnapped? Like, you feel like Rand would, feel her panic, her fear, right? Like,
Yeah, so maybe they had to just give them both a bunch of fork root tea and put them in a weird place where they think they're okay until... Yeah, because Rand never once says, oh, one of my eyes to die is having a bad time. He just ignores her so completely that he doesn't notice her going through existential panic and fear and dread at the loss of her actual warder. Like, that's a really weird plot hole. First, we're losing a warder. Now we're completely ignoring Alana having the worst fear of her life. That feels like a plot hole.
Mm-hmm. Her popping out of nowhere in the cave just feels weird. I mean, my only... Maybe in Shale Ghul, the rules work differently, and she's been there. She gets kidnapped to Shale Ghul.
There's a null field around Shale Ghul is a weak-ass explanation. But, it kind of fits with how Swan didn't notice her warder getting knifed in the back in book 4.
Right.
So, I guess that's consistent in this world.
The women are so into themselves, they don't notice their men dying.
No, the author doesn't care enough about the warder eyes to die relationship to remember it exists all the time. It's only there for plot reasons sometimes.
Which is funny because it gets so emphasized in the show.
Well, maybe Rafe was also annoyed at the disrespect the same way and was trying to, offer a correction. Anyhow, there's a funny line here where Nynaeve, this whole time she's been going, why is Alana important? Why is Alana important? And then finally Codswain goes, because if the Shadow has her, they can find Rand. And then Nynaeve goes, we've been fools. There should have been 100 maidens guarding her. And it's like, you were just complaining that she's not important and you don't care. Well written. Well done. Like that, the hypocriticalness, that turning on the dime, that gaslighting. I'm not shouting, Nynaeve shouted.
Exactly. Yeah. Well done. Well done. That's she's proven wrong, and instead of admitting she's wrong, she pretends she had the opposite take the whole time.
Such a nice to die.
Yeah. Well done. So Codswain gets some tea, and it tastes good because, of course, Rand is returning, and he is preventing everything from going bad.
Oh, yeah, she also mentally chastises herself for thinking that Nynaeve might be lying to her. She's like, no, Nynaeve didn't send the note because Nynaeve prides herself on being honest. And if I distrust her, then I'm going to be really paranoid.
As paranoid as Rand, yeah.
Yeah, as paranoid as Rand. And then, yeah, she braces herself for the bitter tea, which is a lovely little setup for drinking the tea. And it's not bitter. It tastes good. It tastes better than it possibly could. Because Jesus Rand is in the house.
It's not better, it's bitter. Wait, no, it's not bitter, it's better.
Exactly. And just like that, Min and her maiden attendants are off down the hallway to greet Rand.
And then because the chapter breaks are weird and arbitrary, we go continuing the scene. Like, honestly, this could have been one chapter, right? Like, because it just
literally
continues.
Could have been.
It's Min's POV the whole time, right?
Yeah.
Or at least through the chapter break. It's 1 minute to another.
And I don't need to we don't even need to do a read-in. It's just, and we switch to another chapter for what has been wrought with the Aiel spears because we have an important Aiel moment. But yeah, it's just Min leaves the room, and then we pick up with Min having left the room, running towards Rand with the Aiel, and everyone's excited to have him back.
Meanwhile, Min's like, God damn, I put some weight on sitting here studying these books.
You know, a college degree will do that to you.
The freshman 15. She's like puffing and huffing.
Look, she has not been focusing on her diet or on getting enough exercise while she's been plowing through these books, getting a PhD in triple time.
I can just see the donuts, the pastries like piled up on one side, the books next to them, right? Her and Loyal chilling out like study buddies.
Yeah, exactly. She's outpacing the Aes Sedai only because the Aes Sedai refuse to look silly. But it's like, it's totally makes sense that, like, yeah, you're not going to be in tip-top Aiel athletic shape given that you've been literally studying for like 15 hours a day. That totally makes sense.
And I like that's where her character goes, is into the library.
Hell yes. Fashion icon and a bookworm. We love it.
So in comes Rand wearing his beggar's cloak because he, his tinker's cloak, I should say. And I like this line where he says later, "I'm no longer blind," right? Because that was the end of beggar. He was kind of blinded, right? There's that symbolic blinding by the fireball, right, where everything was kind of fuzzy. But that's not the blinding he's talking about. He was blind to the corruption and the evil around him, and now his eyes are open to that.
Well, and he was blind to his full humanity, right? He was blind to real pain. He was blind to real love. He was blind to all the realness. And yeah, that cut him off from being able to do auto detect on all of the bad guys.
Your dots turned red. All right. Easy to tell. And now the air is distorting around him, but she's like, instead of that dark halo, she's like, is that a trick of the sunlight? Because he's kind of got this halo around him, right? Is this aura around him?
Yeah, it's a positive distortion rather than a darkening, shrinking in like black hole energy. Now it's a radiative, glowing energy. And with it comes new viewings.
Yes. And it really mirrors the things in his brain, right? Because before there was darkness and now it's wrapped with the glowing light.
Yes, almost like she's seeing a manifestation of the war for his mind that the Dark One and the reverse power are doing.
Right. So visions, an open cavern gaping like a mouth. Blood-stained rocks. That's him walking up to Shale Ghul, right? His blood.
Which is not new. That's an old viewing. Like, the blood on the rocks of Shale Ghul is, I mean, that's in the Koreathon cycle.
Right.
Like, that's not a new one. It's just a more high-fidelity vision of what we already know is coming.
And seeing the cavern, knowing that he's going to go into a cavern, right? Like, I don't think we knew that before, necessarily.
But did we really think it was going to be anything other than a cavern?
Right. Because we've seen all the Forsaken enter that hallway, right? With the ceiling that closes, right? Like, that's, we know where Shale Ghul is.
Yeah. It was all, and the Eye of the World was in a cave. Like, clearly this battle is going to be in a cave, in a mountain. Duh.
In a cave with scraps. I'm sorry. Okay. The next one, 2 dead men on the ground, surrounded by ranks and ranks of Trollocs.
the moment of the body swap.
That would be my assumption as well, is Rand. And interesting that it's two dead men, but I guess, yeah, they're both dying at one point.
Yeah, the bodies are both very much at the edge of death, right? Rand, like Moradin comes out holding the Rand body. The Moradin body comes out holding the Rand body, but they both collapse and look rather dead. And then I figured the ranks and ranks of Trollocs is the fact that the battle is still actively raging even at the moment of the climax.
And then a pipe with smoke curling from it, which is...
And that is new. That is a completely new vision that has not existed before. And as we all know, that is the final moment of Rand on the page as the book closes, is him lighting a pipe with his mind.
And that question, right? Like, so I think that's one of the reasons it makes that moment even more iconic, right? There's that little bit of foreshadowing of it is an important moment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not some sort of weird symbol about coziness. It's like, no, he's going to have weird magic powers as the books close. That's what's happening. And I will remind everyone that I got to go on Dusty Wheel and talk about speculations for what was up with the pipe at the end. And I will put a link for that in the description because I think it was a really fun conversation. Being on Dusty Wheel is always fun. And I was very honored to get to do that particular Looney Theory deep dive.
Oh, can you give us a summary of what you argued?
I cannot.
Okay.
It was like 2 years ago. I have no idea what I said. But I know it was a really fun conversation, and many people said that they really enjoyed it. So I encourage everyone to go watch that.
So apart from that discussion, do you have a favorite theory about what's going on with Rand in the pipe?
I think the theory I like most, and people can go watch the video and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think the theory I like most is that he's connected to Tel'aran'rhiod Riyadh now. And he's just a little bit part of the dream existing in the real world. I'm pretty sure that's what I settled on. It's what I like now, anyway.
Ooh, and I like that kind of blends in with the whole Tel'aran'rhiod Riyadh is the Dark One's prison, right? Because if he recreates a portion of that, because he fixes the hole, right? So
he's got the one saw in his eye, right? He's holding that spot in himself. So anyhow.
So yeah, those are the visions. None of them are a big, shock to us, right? That's the last battle and what happens afterwards, right? Like
yeah, exactly. The battle is happening now, right? She's seeing a vision that says this is how the battle's going to go down now that we know what's happening. And she looks at him and he looks a lot older. She's like, he has crow's feet. He looks ancient in his eyes. There's this moment of, did he get swapped out with Lews Therin, essentially? And no, he just super aged, like really fast.
Well, I can see wisdom and also just the way presidents age over 4 years, only faster, right? Like I can see Rand looking very haggard because he hasn't been sleeping. He's really relied on his warder bond to keep him going and sleep only a couple hours a night. Like he's been going 100% of the time every day. He's fought in death-defying battles over and over and over again. He's dealt with his guilt. He's dealt with pressure. He's dealt with manipulation, right? And in 2 years, this is all in 2 years. Most of it in the last 6 months. It's one of those things where he's you look at old pictures of what is that? A 6-year-old coal miner? No, he's 15.
Right.
That's Rand.
Right.
That's Rand.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All that. But then also the fact that now he has the memories of 400 years of being Lews Therin, and they have integrated. And I do like this moment where Min is saying, was this the same man? Had the Rand she loved been stolen away, replaced with an ancient force of a man she could never know or understand? Had she lost him after all? Because I think there's this moment where you're like, oh my God, if this ancient person and Rand are the same person, does Rand sort of taken over by this person, this Lews Therin who existed, who was this king, who was this, Aes Sedai, and is the farmer gone?
Right. Yeah, it's a legitimate moment because he went over some kind of massive crux, and it's a reasonable question.
Is the reason he's serene is because there's this foreign entity who's taken over? Right. I think that's a real question to ask and a real possibility. Right. This idea that the crazy voice in his head has taken over is not an unreasonable one.
It was an option.
Yeah.
Just not one he took.
But then he smiles and he's back to being, the boyish Rand that we know and love from the early books. Right. This is the Rand that we fell in love with, who would, wouldn't kill a woman and who cared about his friends and
Though this one will kill a woman because he understands that men and women are equally in need of being killed sometimes.
Absolutely, absolutely. But like that sort of that innocence, right? Like that is back, right? That, and the innocence is the wrong word, but the belief that things can get better, that things will work out in the end.
Yeah, the hopeful, soft sheep herder boy is that everyone's been saying he's in there somewhere, right? Even Nynaeve in the last chapter was like, he's in there. I'm just afraid he's not coming back. And it's like, no, he's there. He's more himself than he's ever been, right? He's come around on the spiral and has so much more experience, but is coming back to himself in a really meaningful way. And then, yeah, Min runs up to him and says, how dare you make me wait for 3 days? And he says, I was just existing, which is like such a mood, right? That's what a vacation should be. It's a chance to just exist, not needing to do things. I mean, sometimes a vacation of doing things is great, but like I totally get the need to just sit and stare at the river for 3 days. Like that is absolutely a real thing that real human beings need to do sometimes. And yeah, it's a total mood. Sometimes you just need to take 3 days to just be completely disconnected.
He's like, listen, I was tripping. Okay.
Look.
Look.
There was more than apples growing in that field.
I thought they were edible mushrooms. They were certainly edibles.
Like any mushroom's edible, at least once.
At least once. That's like your parachute fails, you have the rest of your life to figure it out.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah, no, Rand even says he felt Alana go and that she went north. And it's like if he felt her go but didn't feel her panicking, that does suggest that she was drugged or under her own power or not aware that she was being kidnapped because the subterfuge was really good.
And it's possible that she went up to the borderlands thinking she would accomplish something, and then that's where she was taken, right? Like she could be in Arafel doing something.
That was my old assumption, was that she got herself out of there. But once you really put me to the question of like, but how did she leave? Then it was like, well, I guess kidnapping. But I've always assumed that, yeah, she figured she was going to meet him in the borderlands with some kind of a pre-assembled force organized as a peace offering.
I just have no way of explaining how she got out of there, right?
It's a whole...
Did she physically sneak out and then do a gateway somewhere? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
But greens are clever, so I totally could see her doing some D&D shenanigans to like just bend some light and open a window and not use channeling in the big way, but use channeling in the little way. That would be a very Sanderson thing to do.
But like I said, as far as I'm aware, we don't get any answers on that. But we'll keep an eye out to see if there's someone captured somebody in Arafel, right? Like if there's some maybe offhanded mention that we can make a connection there, you know?
Yeah. And yeah, then here's the line that you were trying to reference earlier, the other one, aside from the one that got used in the chapter icon. But the time when the Dark One, could silence me quietly and therefore win has passed. The confrontation is assured. That's the vibe now. We're doing this. We've tipped over the edge.
And the scream that begins the avalanche has been sounded. That's a really interesting line to me. Which scream is he talking about and which avalanche? Like that's really... I don't really, as a metaphor, fine, but what is he referring to there? Like just the inevitability of the confrontation, right? Like,
I mean, if we're going to try to be literal about it, I think the scream is his full-throated laughter at the end of the last book. Like the first one in a long time, like a full belly laugh coming off at the top of the mountain. If we're going to be trying to be real literal, I think that's the quote-unquote scream that begins the avalanche. Either that or it's the scream of frustration the Dark One let out when Rand started laughing, right? Either way, it's the laughter, I think. That moment of resolution.
But it follows the line, that time when he could silence me quietly, right? So it seems to be it has to be his scream.
Yeah, and that laughter is really what reverberates through the rest of his experience, is laughter and tears, right? He rediscovers that great vagus nerve stimulator of using your voice fully and completely. And I mean, that's a scream. It's happier than a scream in many ways, but it's still a loud noise that comes out of your face.
And he's no longer, when he could silence me quietly and therefore win, like that. And it's almost like silence me quietly. It's that voice of hope. Like he is broken out from Darth Rand. Like there was that, almost as though the voice in Rand's head, Louis Theron, had taken over, and the insane man in his head had taken over, and this was the little quiet voice in the back of his head screaming, and that was going to get silenced, and he broke out from behind the barrier of the Dark One.
Right. The disconnect, the iciness, the distance, all of that is gone. No, now Rand is here and he is kicking and screaming and going to spit inside Blinder's eye, right? Like he's not holding himself back in some weird dissociative state. He's present. And that's why the Aiel are so jazzed. The Aiel can see that presence in him. I think the wise ones later call it embracing death. He's just, this is what they were waiting for. They could see that disconnect and rigidity in him before. And this is the moment they've been like, all right, you finally have your head screwed on straight. Finally.
In the same way that like he had to learn, Egwene had to learn to embrace pain.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's this embracing pain, embracing death, realizing it's something that like, just because that is inevitable, right? Pain is inevitable. Death is inevitable. It shouldn't ruin your life. It shouldn't ruin the rest of the time you have and what you have to enjoy.
Nothing matters, so everything matters.
Right.
It's positive nihilism.
Rhuarc basically calls him a meagerling, which is like someone who avoids danger.
A stupid rat that can't learn from its mistakes.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. It won't avoid danger, I should say. It'll run right like head first in because he's been avoiding his guards, right? This is the whole, I think we've talked about this a lot, where he like makes this pledge that he will keep maidens with him, and then he keeps dodging them, right? He keeps leaving them behind. There's that whole thing where the head of the maidens, Sulin, was going to break the spears, and he stopped her, and then he pledged to be with her, but then he still left them behind, right? Like, I mean, it's still like that didn't fix the problem, and so now he's like, yeah, I've been doing that. I will never do that again. Like, I have reached the point in my journey where I will not leave you ever again, not of my own choice, not without informing and, if they consent, bringing maidens as a guard.
And then Rhuarc lays down the hammer of an apology, involves actual acknowledgement of the wrong and changed behavior. There will be restitution. There will be repair. It's like the whole apology, the whole entire apology. Like, you can promise all you want, but like the actual apology is going to involve some toe as well as some G.
Well, I think they do. Do they beat him again? I forget exactly what happens.
I don't think so. I think they do something more elegant than beating him because he's all mature and stuff. But I think something happens. I don't recall what it is. It's not beating, I'm pretty sure.
I'm like, I wouldn't put it past him. Let me do a quick check. Yeah, I don't see what the payment is. I don't see how he restores the toe. I'm not finding that anywhere.
Huh. Well, maybe him and Rhuarc just figure it out later somehow. Oh, is it part of the Dragon's Peace?
Maybe.
No, that's Avienda.
Yeah.
Avienda's the reason why they own the Dragon's Peace. But I don't know. Anyway, he makes a future promise to deal with his toe, and that's enough for the Aiel to be like, okay, you're committed to this apology, and it's not just... I don't even know, but Rhuarc is Rhuarc, so it's fine.
Yeah, no, I don't have any... the last thing I have about this is he promises he will repay the toe. But maybe, yeah, I feel like the Dragon's Peace is part of that. Like, that's his toe to the Aiel, is like creating this peace for them in the future, right?
I feel like the way he writes them into the Dragon's Peace factors this in. Avienda insists on adding them to it, and then I feel like the toe he owes them is incorporated. But I don't know, I might be talking out of my ass. Yeah, but yeah, I just love that Rhuarc is like, this promising to change in the future is not restitution for what you've done in the past. Like, you got to do something about that too. Like, again, apologies are complicated machines. They are not just words.
And then Rand sort of says, here's a list of things I need to fix. That's one of the things I need to fix. Here's a bunch more, right? And I almost feel like that's somewhere Sanderson has this checklist of like things I need to get done before the last battle. And I need Rand to just be like, I'm going to get all these things done really quick in a row because otherwise the last battle can't happen.
Yep, I completely agree.
And I need to get there within the next like few chapters. So I'm going to have Rand just list them off and knock them out, either dispatch somebody or go do them himself really quick. So he sends Narishma to meet with the Borderlanders and say, hey, I will accept your terms and meet you in Farmatting, and I will, let you slap the shit out of me, right? Like, essentially.
Right. I'll meet my toe, essentially.
And then he has to go meet with Egwene, right? He set up this whole meeting with Egwene, but first he has to go to Eredomon and fix the mess he left behind there with all the lack of food.
Right. He also scoops up Darlin to organize some stuff. brings Cadsuane over to forgive her and pardon her and apologize.
He sets Min off to study Kalendor and figure out how to use that in the last battle, and how that's like how he's like and that's I think the most important one, right?
Yeah. I do like his political suaveness with the like, oh, okay, maybe. Well, Min points out that he shouldn't announce that the Aes Sedai were divided. And he's like, okay, let's say that Egwene succeeded Elida, and then if you know, you know, and otherwise Face can be saved.
Right. Right. Otherwise, it's a direct succession, one after the other. She was just elected a little before Elida resigned. That's all. We don't need to talk about the exact timeline of how long Egwene's been Amyrlin.
It's fine.
It was Suan, then Elida, then Egwene. Yeah. Straight succession. No forks.
Yeah. And then Nynaeve asks about getting together help for Lan, to which Rand feels real pain. Like, right? Min has this sensation of Rand having a fully human experience of emotional pain, as he says to Nynaeve, I understand that I have been putting that off too long. No, that's not the plan I'm making right now, but like, give me 5 more minutes. I am getting to that. I promise I am getting to that.
He's not there yet. He's still writing.
Yeah, fortunately, he still has a couple more people to pick up before he's going to get to Tarwin's Gap.
And he apologizes, right, to Cadsuane, which is great. Like, he's actually like, yeah, I was under a little bit of stress. And she's like, yeah, too bad. I'm like,
yeah,
bitch, come on. Give him a little bit of slack.
Well, I mean, there is that little detente where he's like, you know, this was just a minor inconvenience. And she's like, bitch, if you think being in a heavy hood in this fucking weather
that was pretty funny.
is a minor inconvenience, then you need a lesson in contrast.
But it's like your Aes Sedai. You can ignore the heat, right? So it is a pretty minor convenience. Yeah.
It's sarcasm, though. They're having this like fun little advisee, like there's humor there. There's rapport. They're going to go back to a much better relationship than they had before. And then he attempts to explain the lesson that Cadsuane taught him, and I still don't buy it.
Yeah. You tried to manipulate me, and you failed horribly, but in that failure, you have shown me something, which is literally like by trying to force my father to do something to me, you've manipulated me and shown me that I'm still a person. Okay, sure.
I feel like Sanderson is stretching so hard to make it work, and it's just not working for me. I know he's a tall man, but I don't think his arms can stretch quite that far.
But the sentiment is right. Rand's not a weapon. The Ashaman are not a weapon.
Yeah, it's a good point. I just really don't think that this clumsy and ridiculous Cadsuane situation was remotely necessary. You can't explain it away. And like, he literally also was like, she says, you can't let the pressures of life drive you. And then he says, well, that's how you make a sword. Also, I'm not a sword. I'm like, which is it? You can't have 2 sword metaphors with opposite points in the same statement, sir. That makes no sense. So I find this whole attempt to make Cadsuane's existence be justified here to be unsatisfying and inadequate.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I'm dead silence on that. I'm just like,
yeah, I'm like, should I leave all that silence in the edit? And just like, normally I take that much silence out, but I think I'm gonna just leave it there for comedic effect.
Okay, so then here's a moment. He says, I've been informed the White Tower is holding Mat and Stepaneus.
Right.
Who informed him of that? Was that in his letter from Varen?
Probably. I think so.
And then the person he wants is somewhere in the Caroline grass, right? So this is not Mat and Stepaneus. Isn't it the king of Eredamon, right?
That's who he's looking for.
Right, and so he was informed, hey, Mat and Stepaneus was taken by the White Tower. Chances are, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name.
Yeah, it's the guy that Eteralda wants to serve. And he doesn't exist on page very much, so I don't remember his name.
Because he's been kidnapped for the last, 3 books.
For the entire series, as far as the timeline is concerned.
Al-Salam.
Al-Salam, there we go. That's what it is. So yeah, he says the White Tower's in the habit of kidnapping kings that don't have a lot of stuff to do on the page. So can you go find the one that will make Rodel Eitaralda happy when he survives the last battle, and we can give him his king and his kingdom back. And there we go.
Yeah, and King Aslam, he went disappearing after the war in Falma.
Oh wow, all the way back then.
Yeah, back then. So he was probably. Yeah, he was just kidnapped and taken by Elida's orders. So some Red probably took him, and they were just, I don't know if they were stuck in the Caroline grass or if they set up in a little hut and were just keeping him safe, right? Like, I think they just got lost. Like, I just think it took them like a year to travel. They just trying to travel cross country to the White Tower, and it just took them forever.
Yeah, something went wrong, but it's not like dark friendery or anything. There's no hint of like a Black Aja plot. It's just shit happens on the road
just
sometimes.
Elida. Yeah. And the snow, it got snowed and they couldn't go anywhere, right? They got caught because they're in the middle of nowhere, right? Think about being in the Midwest, in the country, in the middle of the snow, right? No plows, nothing, right? With 8 foot feet snows. You're not going anywhere.
Right. It's like, I guess we're going to get really good at playing poker now.
Yeah, exactly. So Rand then finds him.
Yeah, it's a great moment where Eitaralda just is so happy to get him back, and his mind isn't melted by Grandal or anything, and it's a good moment.
Of course, then he's immediately killed in the last battle, and Eitaralda has to take the kingship.
No, that is before the last battle, isn't it? But then Eitaralda takes over the kingship in his friend's memory rather than because his friend was never found.
Right.
And it's a different dynamic.
And if he was found after Eitaralda took the kingship, that would be awkward. Right.
So now we have really the final event, well, the second to last event of the chapter, which is Rand using his spidey senses to suss out dark friends.
Mm-hmm. And his glowing, power of holiness, right? Like the dark friends, he blinds them because he is such a shining beacon of goodness that they literally cannot see it. They see that glow, right? That distortion that we talked about earlier is so bright to them that it's blinding them. And the further into the dark you are, the brighter it is, it seems.
Right. To Min, who is on the side of goodness and is close to Rand, the brightness feels like warmth and comfort and joy and bliss, and she can look at him through the distortion with no pain. And they, as committed dark friends, yeah, it's like a cave creature being hit with a ray of sunlight. It's no good.
Or too near a bonfire.
Yeah, totally. It's like, yeah, just trying to stare at the sun directly. You can't do that.
Near the end of the line, Wiramon kept glancing at Rand, then looking away, right? It's like looking at the sun. You can glance at it, but it's too bright.
Yeah, Rand just lines up the nobility and just walks down the line. And yeah, Wiramon is like squinting the closer and closer Rand gets. And Anayela is on the far side of Wiramon, also squinting in his shadow.
Almost more so. I think she's deeper in the dark than he ever was.
Yeah, but she's at the farther end of the line, so he doesn't see her at first.
Right.
But yeah, I do wonder which of them was a dark friend first and most seriously, and probably her. I think that seems on brand, that between the two of them, he's going to be a weak sauce little pipsqueak, even as a dark friend.
Wiramon kind of reminds me of Lanfear in that he is only a dark friend for his own gain.
Sure.
And really isn't a very good dark friend because he keeps fucking up dark friend plans because he's looking out for himself.
I like that interpretation of him. His incompetence is born of greed and self-centeredness,
right,
rather than his evilness.
And he's still incompetent, right? Like no matter what side he's working for, he's always incompetent.
Because he's just an incompetent as a person.
Right.
Like regardless 100%. Of alignment. I like that. I like that. And Anayela is incompetent as a front and is actually extremely good at what she's doing as a dark friend, doing subterfuge, dark friendy things, and looking like a simpering fool as a smokescreen.
Wiramon was always an obvious dark friend. Anayela, I didn't really think about, right? There's that moment where she talks about stabbing Rand, right? But he's like half unconscious and she's got the knife out.
And he's in a bad way in terms of treating her countrymen. Like it's a good person. Like someone in Discord just the other day was saying, like, I don't think Egan Padros was a dark friend. I think he was a good man who was paid to kill Rand, because from where a random guy is standing, Rand seems pretty freaking awful. So it would not be a hard sell to give him a bag of gold and say, all your problems will be fixed if you just take out this man who's clearly making the world worse. So yeah, I could totally see.
And I could see that dark friends don't always have a bag of gold on them, right? They're doing it because they're ordered to, and they have to, because that's what being a dark friend means. Whereas he has a bag of gold, so that his only motivation is the pay.
Right. And so, yeah, Aniela was very good at seeming like that kind of person who was just in it for the regular old-fashioned greed. And it's like, turns out, actually, much like Grandal, that was a front.
So, but he lets them go and basically says, spread the word that the Dark Friends can't hide. It's time for the sides to separate. No more treachery. No, where you're going to simplify this battle. You cannot stop it. You cannot subvert it from the inside. All the Dark Friends get the fuck out. And Egwene did it in the White Tower, right? We are having a purge. It's purge time, right? Get out or die. And then you are going to have to be on the side, literally line up against us. And I think that's really important that there is this purge before the last battle, or else you're going to have, an incredible advantage of the Dark Friends being able to stab people in the back. And I think they thought they were going to have that.
Yeah. And they still manage some, but a lot get blown out because of this it's like when the sun ignited and made all the planets coalesce out of the dust. It's kind of that. Rand is ignited and you are planets or you are dust that is getting the hell out. And
it's why the 4 generals aren't Dark Friends, right? Rand would have detected that. They can't be the Dark Friends, but they can be under compulsion. And he missed that because he didn't see them after the compulsion started.
Right, because, you got to start with a simple assumption that people are either good or bad, and the concept of being corruptible against one's own will isn't even on the table. But it is on the table because we're dealing with 3,000-year-old evil.
It's one of those things where I'm glad that compulsion got used in the way that, you could use it more. I think that because it is such this incredible power, and it was, especially in the War of Power, is described as one of those things where you had people who were spent years under compulsion and did horrible things without knowing it. So I think you could almost have used it more, but it goes back to really only the Forsaken are good at it, and there aren't that many of them left. So they use it on the generals and hope that that's good enough.
Right, exactly. And then we get to the last event of the chapter, which is resolution from last book, and a very sweet moment, and a very important expression of healthy masculinity, as Rand gets to reunite with Tam and not make it weird and murderous this time.
Oh, just one more thing about Weiramon. They wander off, and he sends 3 Maidens of the Spear after them, Lee and 2 others. I couldn't find evidence that Lee was a fan insert, but it's got to be.
They don't die horribly, though.
No, that's a good point.
But I also highlighted that name as
could be fan insert.
Seems like that could be a person, because they've never been mentioned before, and they'll never be mentioned again.
And they're never mentioned again. So just I want to be a, I'm sure someone wanted to be a Bane of the Spear mentioned once, and they got mentioned. So that's my headcanon, is that was a fan. So let us know if you find any evidence for that one way or the other.
Headcanon accepted. But yeah, Rand goes up to Tam and does this thing with the stairs where he literally lets Tam be taller than him.
Yeah.
And clings onto him like a small child hugging his parent, which is just, again, such a healthy expression of the vulnerability you need in a leader and healthy masculinity, where the need for a father figure is not weakness, and where tears are not weakness. Nobody is uncomfortable with the fact that Rand is crying in this moment. Everyone's well, that seems appropriate given the everything.
Right.
And it just is so cathartic. Yes, it's very Mormon and it's very formulaic and it's perfect and auto-tuned, but it is satisfying also. This needed to happen. And Cadsuane was trying to make it happen, and that's what triggered Veins of Gold. It would be weird if Tam and Rand didn't have this moment given how the last time happened. And, Tam's just so Tam about it. He's it's okay that you fucked up. You got up and picked yourself up and you're going to try again. It's okay, buddy. And it's just so Tam.
It's the dad you want, right? That's because he was such a good dad in the beginning, and we haven't, and the reunion had to happen, and then Rand fucked it up, and that was really important that he fucked it up, and now he needs to repair it, right? That whole circle is a really important part of Veins of Gold. And so, yeah, I really do like it. And then he's oh, I want to introduce you to my girlfriend. And Tam's I've met her. We've been hanging out for a couple of days. I know, but I didn't get to introduce you. So
it's so cute.
Yeah, it's very cute. It's very cute. It's family, right? That's something that Rand hasn't really had. He's been by himself as this loner, and now he's introducing his father to his wife. Or I'll say wife. They're married at this point, right? Yeah, they've been married for a while.
They're bonded, so
yeah.
If we consider the bond to be equivalent to marriage, then yes. Yeah, exactly. And it's just so like, this is what Rand has been thinking he had to cut off. This was the first thing he thought he had to cut off. The second he thought he might be the Dragon Reborn, he said, well, I gotta pretend I don't care about my family, pretend I don't care about having a family. I have no loved ones. And now here he is in full view of everyone saying, Father, this is my wife. And just having that full connection to the family experience and not cutting himself off from it, because that's really what it's all about as humans. We're social animals. Family is actually the core of what makes our little brains go pitter-patter.
And this is the moment where I really wanted a reunion between the three boys as well. And we never get that. That's probably my biggest regret is like, and the reunion that we do get, which is coming up, is terrible.
Also, I would have loved it if Tam had gotten to meet his other two wives.
Yeah. There's a little bit of that. Yeah.
That would have been nice. And to have Tam go, like, completely take it without even blinking. Be like, oh, yeah, my son has 3 wives. That's not a thing I'm going to be shocked about at all because I'm Tam and I accept my child. But, yeah, we get one good reunion here, and it gives us a template to extrapolate the reunions we should have had.
Yes. That's why I have a fondness in my heart for these chapters. These chapters don't make me regret reading them like the occasional chapter does.
No, they're short and brief, but they are sweet.
They are sweet. They are heartwarming. They're a good reaction to just this Rand coming home to his family, his grouchy aunt who's, bullied him, his, father, his wife, the Aiel, the people who are around him and care about him. And he gets to basically apologize and say, I'm going to do better. And then he starts to do better. And I think even for us as readers, that's so important because we have been fighting Darth Rand for such a long time to be like, come on, be smarter, see the patterns around you, support the people who are trying to support you, stop lashing out, right? Like, I really, really like these chapters for that reason. So even though they're, relatively low density chapters, they are important chapters in Rand's journey. And I love Rand's journey, so...
If it had just been one chapter.
Yeah, I just don't think it needed a chapter break. Yeah.
Yeah, so, there you go. There you have it. It was short and sweet, and now Rand is back with the gang, and they can start kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah, it's time for the last battle to really kick off, right? Like, this is the battle has started and things are happening, but this is the moment where it's like, okay, we have a united front. We are going to... I have hope for the last battle, finally, right?
Right, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the what I'm looking for. It's like there's this... They're all pulling in the same direction again, which is anti-Dark One.
Yeah, Rand has had his revelation to himself, and now he's bringing it together with everyone who's been trying to be on his team this whole time. It's good to see. And yeah, that's all I got.
That's it. And then we're back to Egwene next chapter.
Awesome possum.
Once again, thanks to our Patreons, our new Patreons, and everyone who's supported us in the past. Thanks to all of our listeners, and thanks for sticking with us through the Sanderson books.
And in other fun news, I do have another fun announcement for the few people who are into the rewind episodes on the Patreon. Speaking of Patreons,
yeah.
If you are a patron, in case anyone doesn't know, it is very few steps to get an RSS feed of an ad-free podcast from us through our Patreon. It's really very few clicks. You can message me in Discord. You can Google it. It's really easy to use our Patreon to get ad-free episodes delivered to your podcast app right along every other podcast. It's not like you need a special app to do it. Like, it's so simple, so seamless. You can do that on our Patreon.
And that's been true for a while.
And that's been true since Path of Daggers. Path of Daggers is the book when we got recruited by Spreaker and started to get to put ads in. And I had to figure out how to do the whole ad transitions and blah, blah, blah. It was a messy time. And at one point, someone, I forget who, but you know who you are, asked me essentially like, hey, so we're getting new episodes without ads in the Patreon. But the back catalog is entirely stuffed with ads now. There's no ad-free version of the back catalog. Can you fix it? And ultimately I said, yeah, I can fix it. I'm going to give you 5-hour-ish long compilation episodes every Tuesday of our back catalog until it is done. That will be the compromise of how I make that happen. And I am pleased to announce that I have finally, after like 18 months, I have finally finished setting those episodes up. They will continue to run for you in Patreon up through December 2nd. And at that point, the last of the Path of Dagger episode compilations will go up, and I will be done with that project. You will be done getting those massive episodes on Tuesdays. Everything will be ad-free and in Patreon, and I don't have to think about it anymore. And I am just so jazzed that that is off of my plate now.
Every time you finish a big chunk of that, you've been like, I'm done with this chunk, and I don't have to do it again, because you do it in big chunks, and then you upload them so yeah, when you said, I'm finally done with this project, I was like, this has been a multi-year project. Get those recompiled, re-uploaded. And I'm happy that we did it. I do wish we'd had the forethought to do it before we switched over to ads, so people never had that interruption, and they always could have done it. But like the reality is,
well, we're figuring stuff out as we go.
We're figuring stuff out as we go. Yeah. So we didn't think about that beforehand. But I'm really, really pleased that we do have that done, and that you can listen to, if you're a Patreon, you can listen to our whole back catalog with no ads, because I think that's worthy. You know, for me, that's sort of like, if you're going to pay, why do you have to listen to ads?
Yeah, no, for sure. I hate ads. I firmly believe in being able to buy your way past ads. I'm conflicted on the fact that we even have them.
Same.
For as little as $1 a month, you can just bypass the whole thing.
Right.
And yeah. So that's a whole process that I've been going through. And yeah, but it's been kind of fun systematizing it. I have like a whole spreadsheet process thing where I would set all of the compilations up and then let my program run and just like crunch files for 2 hours and be uploading them like one at a time. Like I had a whole systematized process that I had really dialed in. It was very efficient by the end, but I'm so glad that it's done.
And now you'll never use it again.
Yeah, I've made a couple of different systematized processes at various points in my podcasting career, but every time I learn cool tools that do apply.
Yeah.
In future, I learn new efficiencies, make a new hotkey, figure out a new utility. So it's always worthwhile to do these sorts of batch process things. I do enjoy that process of optimizing. But yeah, and also pro tip, if anyone really doesn't like the ads and they can't afford $1 a month, like I shouldn't tell you this, but I'm going to tell you this.
YouTube.
Go to YouTube, because I'm not monetizing the videos there. Only about 40 people watch them, but they are there. It's an RSS feed that is just piped over from Spreaker. I don't even have to put the episode art in it anymore and do all that. Like I've saved 15 minutes now because YouTube added an RSS input thing, which is saving me time. But like you can just go do that. If you get your podcast through YouTube, you won't get pestered with ads, because I'm not going through all the hassle of monetizing the YouTube videos for the 40 people that watch them. It's just, that is so not worth it. So that's an alternative if you don't want to deal with ads and you can't give us $1 a month. I should not be telling you that. That's completely anti-capitalist of me. But you know what? I'm not super pro-capitalist. So this is me fighting against my own existence as a capitalist unit.
And if anybody wanted to download those episodes and put them in a torrent and upload that somewhere, I wouldn't care.
If you want to go through that much effort, that is on you.
That is on you.
Like, good on you, I guess.
Yeah. But we really, I've always been happy we've provided a free product in the beginning. It's one of those things where I'm happy when people donate. And I'm more happy when people listen. That's really the thing, right? Like, I'm very happy when people give us money, but really the key is I'm just happy people are listening to this, right? Like, it still blows my mind. I think I was just talking about that, how like when I sit down and think about how many people actually listen to this and spend their time listening to my voice, I feel guilty because I'm sorry.
People go to sleep to this nonsense.
Oh, I know. Well, at least they sleep through most of it. That's probably the only good thing.
No, it's an important thing to provide parasocial content that isn't super messed up and
toxic,
corrosive to a person's brain.
Yeah.
We're providing a parasocial space to hang out in that isn't going to cause harm. We're just going to cause bad puns. That's the worst harm you're going to come to is bad puns.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Please rate and review us on your podcast app, and consider supporting us on Patreon for ad-free episodes. Wrought Spoilers is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.